Well, today, what I wanted to talk about, I've had this thought on my mind for a while, and it's been really prevalent to me, really obvious to me during this year, specifically due to the virus going around. I've labelled my talk, "Lord, bless me as I do something silly." I've talked about this kind of stuff before, when I was up in Darwin actually, about bringing yourself back to the basics of what you know and back to a set and solid routine. Because that in itself, just by setting yourself a routine, is setting yourself up for the blessings and success with the Lord and in your future. The coronavirus has really impacted everyone differently, depending on which state you're in. My wife's parents are still stuck down in, some would call the dictatorship, in Victoria. Some of us up here in Queensland haven't really noticed any change, and I was just talking to a sister there who's tucked away for the second meeting, who lives in Darwin. While my wife and I lived up there, we knew them very closely, their family. The Northern Territory hasn't really even felt it. It's just felt like something that's a bit surreal to them. We've all had it very differently this year, and it's broken a lot of people's routines depending on where you are. At the start of the year, my wife gave birth to our little girl, which did in itself throw the routine out that I had. I get up at 10 to 6 every morning. I get dressed, I'll have a shave first, get dressed, go straight to work. Once I get to work, go do a walk now because my back's a bit sore. My knees are giving away. I go for a walk. 7:30 starts my day, whatever the day includes. 4 o'clock finish, come home. That's my daily routine in the world. And my prayer life is a bit different to that. Because if you look into that, I pray on the way to work. I have prayer on the way home from work. I read as much as I can in my breaks at work. But this year has really set a different lens on it for me, and how much little changes in your life can affect you in a big way. Now, I've just spoken there about my military routine and how my work routine goes. But when my little girl Evie came into the world, I had 4 weeks of parental leave. And on top of that, the first day I went back, my boss sent me back home because that's when all the restrictions really started and working from home became a thing again and all that. And my routine completely went out the window. And sadly, I didn't catch myself early enough to realise that I needed to set a new routine. And so it really hit me for a good couple months there, where I found myself feeling very different, very alone, the thoughts I was having and the life I was living just felt different. I could never put my finger on it why. And it really comes down to the fact that the routine I had and the relationship I'd set for myself with the Lord had all gone. Sadly, it hadn't changed, it had just gone. So I wanted to talk today and bring up a few things just as thoughts, give you a few examples of some guys and girls, just guys today, in the Bible that have set some good routines. So we'll go to Daniel 6 verse 7, please and thank you. Daniel 6 verse 7. So most of you guys and girls would know about this story. You can go through the chapters before here, talk about the writing on the wall and the interpretation Daniel gave from there. And you go move into chapter 6 here, and it's talking about the plot against Daniel. And if you read through here and you go through, you see how high up Daniel was in the food chain of the work life back there, and where he sat, and one of the governors there. If you go down to verse 7, it says, "All the governors of the kingdom, the administrators and the satraps, the councillors, the advisors have consulted together to establish a royal statute to make a firm decree that whoever petitions any god or man for 30 days except the king shall be cast into the den of lions." What they're saying here, as we all know the story, they're trying to conspire against all those who wouldn't worship the king as the god, accept the ways of what their culture was and all that. And if you go over into verse 10, it says, "Now when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went home into his upper room with his windows open toward Jerusalem. He knelt down on his knees 3 times that day and prayed and gave thanks before his God, as was his custom since the early days." I wanted to highlight this because not only has he got a great name, might I add, but he set this routine a lot earlier, a lot far before things got tough. I don't know if you really picked up there, you really heard what I said. If you're praying to the wrong God, or what they call the wrong God, they throw you in a den of lions. Sadly, hindsight's 2020, hindsight vision's 2020, and we all know how he ended up. Spoiler alert, he does all right, survives. But the fact was here that even though they decreed from the king, from their government at the time down, that you're not allowed to pray to the one true God, only this guy, he still went home and continued his routine that he had already set. And you can go through here and continue on, and from verse 18 onwards it explains how he was saved there, and how the Lord closed the lions' mouths and went on. The routine he had, he didn't shy away from it. He continued on with his routine and prayed harder, if anything. He opened his windows towards Jerusalem. He wasn't hiding it. He wasn't shying away from them, doing it in secret. He openly opened his windows so that everyone looking in could see him praying 3 times a day. He kept his routine going there. Yeah, as I said, he didn't just turn to God in his time of need. He continued on with his routine, knowing that the blessing and the promise of the Lord was already there. We'll move to, actually we don't really need to move to it, but if you want to move to it yourself, Psalm 37 verse 4. No, we will turn to that. Psalm 37 verse 4, please. Highlight on the wording here. A lot of my job at work is justifying things to people who aren't sure of things. So words mean a lot, and I've found that a lot in my last 7 years of working in the military. Words actually mean things. Surprise, surprise. So the reading this, it helped me not only receiving the Spirit, but doing a bit of work with developing and recommending different levels of risk. It actually helped me reread these Psalms and Proverbs and really read into them, not and create my own interpretation, but find meaning in the words. So Psalm 37 verse 4 here says, "Delight yourself also in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart." If you read around it, you realise verse 1 and 2 talk about not fretting from evildoers. Continue on, it talks about committing your way. In verse 5 there it says, "Commit your ways to the Lord and trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass." It speaks here of committing to the Lord, commit being that key word, delighting yourself in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. Delight yourself. Make him the centre. Make him your routine. Everything revolving around him. He will give you the desires of your heart. Which if you think about it, and you think about the words they're saying there, doesn't mean I make the routine about praying 3 times a day with my windows open, I get a Ferrari. Doesn't mean me praying really well and I get a really high-paying, well-paying job and my family's all good at home. It means I pray 3 times a day or more, or however you want to do it, however way you want to pray. Come to church multiple times, give tithes. There's multiple ways to set your routine. And your desires change. Your desires change to be that of holiness, to be that of things towards the Lord. And then the Lord helps give you the desires of your heart, to be one of his plan, to really help continue his plan. All right, we'll go on from that. We'll talk about Noah for a bit and go into Genesis there, but I wanted just a small part there to highlight. If you look at the book of Noah, he had a pretty incredible routine. Slightly before the outpouring of the Holy Spirit came on there. But for 100 years, he built a boat. I'm just, it's a bit difficult to think 100 years, given I've been alive for less than a quarter of that. But 100 years set in the same routine and being persecuted every day for doing that same routine can get a bit agitating, I'm assuming. Get a bit disheartening. But he knew he had that end goal, he had that foresight, that vision to see what the Lord had planned and to see and to know the Lord telling him the promises, what was going to happen. And he stuck to it for 100 years. This is really impressive to me. I'm an officer, I don't really get to build many things with my hands. I'm usually stuck behind a keyboard, so building things really fascinates me. It's awesome. Building a boat just sounds incredible. We'll go through to Psalm 5 verse 3, please. We sing this as, it's one of David's prayers for guidance. You read through it, you go through. He's really asking the Lord for guidance here. We sing this as one of our choruses, actually. But verse 3 says, "My voice shall you hear in the morning, O Lord, and in the morning I will direct it to you and I will look up." He's speaking about praying and continuing in prayer there and really just exalting the Lord there. If you go and look at how the nature of David and how he went there, he was a lot of his time was a lot of warlike operations, a very, very interesting and very provoking book there to see how much of his life was set aside to preparation and meditation, warfighting routine, just this continuous thoughts and planning all the time. So his routine, as you can see here through Psalms and through all of that, was pretty impressive. He spent a lot of time meditating and with the Lord. I wanted to highlight there just that verse 3 there to really harp on how important a routine is. It doesn't have to be in the morning, I'm saying here, but as long as you have the routine started and set, and you continue on in that routine, that's what really matters, setting that basis there and that foundation. We'll move along to the ultimate example here, being Jesus. Now, I haven't got any scriptures down here for it specifically, but I wanted to talk about his routine with spending time with the Lord, because it doesn't give specific reoccurrence in the scripture of him, 7 a.m. on Monday, he went and prayed with the Lord, but it does give a lot of little snippets here and there you could see where instead of just coming with the disciples to a congregation and only being apart with them, only praising the Lord and only praying when he was with other people. You can see when he went into the desert, and you can see when he went alone up the mountain when the disciples were sleeping. You can see he went alone by himself. I think that's a really strong point to think about, because it's only when you're on your own, it's only when you really start thinking about your own walk with the Lord that things really come into perspective for you. It really pushes you to think about your own routine and your own walk. It really is interesting if you read through and see Jesus never, obviously because he was perfect, never doubted himself going off alone with his own walk, but often gravitated to it. He wanted to spend more time alone with his Father, as we all should, and create that one-on-one bond with him, create that really strong relationship. So to give you guys a few final pointers here, you don't have to go to it, but if you're writing things down here, Matthew 6 verse 33, this is out of the New International Version. It says, "But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well." That's similar to, if you look at the relation there with Psalm 37:4. They're about seeking the kingdom first, having that on the inside first and setting that, and all that will follow on will be a blessing. So starting your day with prayer, getting back to a few hints and tips from Dan, for lack of a better phrase. Starting your day with prayer and starting with a good routine sets yourself up for success in the long run and continuation. There are a few other little things you can do along through your day. You can listen to podcasts now. Technology's come a long way. It's really, really cool there, Luke, getting favourite songs and that thing through Zoom. Like, when have we ever had that in the past? How incredible is that? Just little technology to keep everyone, no matter where you are. You could be from a different country at the moment listening in. Hello if you are, welcome. And you could be sending through your favourites if you want, what songs you want to hear, listening as it comes out. It's just fascinating. So podcasts are one of them. Continuation of the word, filling yourself with the positive stuff. Committing to reading. Reading is a big thing. Study to show thyself approved is one of the verses I wrote down. I didn't write didn't write which verse it was. I wrote it down because I was scrambling around a lot of thoughts in my head this morning to put it all on paper. But studying is a massive part of your walk with the Lord. And it's a big part of witnessing as well. Because if you're asked to show your faith and to prove to others and to witness to others how amazing God is and what He's done for you, you can't show them the promises that He's given. It's very, very hard. It's not impossible. It's very hard to help pass that hope, that faith that you have, that you've received, onto someone else as well. So committing to reading. I've started my own little personal one, just as an example of reading one book a month. Getting through Psalms, it's a bit bigger than the rest of them, but getting through one book a month and just meditating on it. So reading a couple chapters, meditating on it, writing down a few points that I think are really good, and then continuing on. Just keep going through that. But you don't have to do one book a month, you can do whatever you want. Journaling is another thing you can do as well. Writing down what your thoughts are, writing down what you're struggling with, talking to people about it, bringing it up with people. Another big thing through it. Because we don't always remember things. I wish I remembered everything. My wife who's watching now would love to tell you that I remember everything. There you go. I'm getting yelled at over Zoom. I'll talk about prayer throughout the day. I had there's an older lady in the fellowship in Toowoomba when I was growing up. She gave a really powerful testimony, and I don't know why I remember it. I've always remembered it. She got up there, I must have only been like 11 or 12 or so. Half my life, there you go. Any hints? She gave her testimony, and the part that really stuck out to me was you don't need to sit here, you don't need to sit at home and be really loud. You know, Jesus talks about the apostles there in Matthew or Luke. He talks about not going out onto the corner and proclaiming to everyone your love for Christ, but doing it, at home by yourself. And she gave this really powerful testimony about praying just praying in tongues under your breath. And it was something that, my amazing 12 years of life at that point, all the knowledge and experience in the world, that really stuck with me. And it really has stuck with me for the other half, to how powerful that can be and how much of a difference that can make. Because a lot of people think, what if that person over there, what if Ty knows that I'm praying? Oh no, what's he going to think? What if, the lady who works next to me in the cubicle next to me actually, hears me praying? Oh no, what's going to happen? So there's just little things like that, just praying under your breath, or finding your own time in the little kitchenette or whatever you have at work or wherever. Finding time to pray, continuing that prayer routine throughout the day and throughout the month and throughout the years and throughout your life is another big thing to take into it. I want to talk a little bit about distractions as well. I turned on the timer and I forgot to turn it off, so please give me a wave if I'm going to. At the start of the year, when everyone is at home, I talked to a lot of people because I was stuck at home, and it became very apparent very quickly that looking at my phone all day, looking at computers all day, distracted me from a lot of things. And it's not just the physical device itself, although I hear it from every granddad ever, those phones that you're always on. It's not the device itself, it's the social media, and I use that as a broad term that everyone likes to use because it's such an easy thing to go to for just a little bit of gratification. You see nice things, and it's such an easy thing to go to but it's quite hard sometimes. So even though you've set a good routine, to keep to it, because all you want to do is switch on to something that's easy. And I use social media just as an example, something easy to switch over to and look at. I have my Bible on my phone a lot of the time because it's easier for me, and it's something I definitely needed to be wary of, because I find if I'm not careful, I'll easily just switch out of my Bible app onto something else or something like that. There's also things while you're sitting at home, like TV and Netflix and all that kind of stuff, depends on what you watch. All that can really distract you and set a precedence for how easy it is to be distracted from the things of the Lord. And just being careful of what you're looking at and what you're watching as well. Because everything you see and everything you listen to and everything you see and listen to on social media and all that does come in. And even though you might not process it that much, it can just sit around in your subconscious to give you bad thoughts later. It's just another way the devil can distract you from things as well. I just thought I might bring up that point as well. All right. I'll go back to a Bible verse because I haven't read one in a while. We'll go Ephesians 3 verse 12, please. Ephesians 3 verse 12. Going through this book here, it's one of my favourite parts there. Chapter 2 and verse 19, I guess I could use that as well, being Christ as the cornerstone. We go to Ephesians 3 verse 12, it says, where am I? In whom we have boldness and access with confidence through faith in him. Therefore I ask you that you do not lose heart in any tribulations for you, which is your glory. It's talking about the purpose of the mystery there, and if you go at the start of chapter 3, it's talking about Paul talking about Jesus with the Gentiles there. I won't go into that because otherwise I'll be sidetracked again. But you look through it there, and it talks about being through him. Sorry, I'm getting a bit mixed up here. It says in the translation in the New International Version, it says, in him, through faith in him, we may approach God with freedom and confidence. It's about creating that connection with him that I keep going back to, that routine and connection with your relationship with him. All right. Two more points. I'll call it there. Prayer is a big thing, and how you pray can be a big thing. I find it very interesting to listen to people pray, how people pray, because if you're in, depends on which circumstance you're in, and depends what phase you are in life. I find some prayers can be very one-sided. Lord, I need this. Lord, I'm really struggling with this. Lord, I need this right now, which has its time and place, as we all know, for healing and for needs. But remembering to bring it back to a list of gratitude as well, and really thanking the Lord for what he's done for you. You don't have to turn for it now, but Ephesians 1 verse 7 says, in him we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of sins in accordance with the riches of God's grace. It's bringing yourself back to how much he's done for you, not to you as well, how much he's given you and how much he's rewarded you, and meditating on that as well. Because it's easy to get caught up with the negativities in life and how much bad stuff's going on around us, especially at these times. But just remembering as well in that daily routine what God's actually blessed you with and what he's given you. All right, my final point is just ending your day with a devotion. So ending your day with a thought. I've got Psalm 119 verse 105 here. It says, your word is a lamp for my feet and a light on my path. It's a very famous one. A lamp for my feet and a light for my path. Ending on a devotion or a story, or as I do, like a chapter, ending on that sets yourself up so that the routine doesn't start on a good note and then just fizzle out through the day. You also got to end on a good note as well for the day to make sure you've capped at both ends. Does that make sense? So continue on with the routine, and to finish up, we've talked about setting the routine from the start and making sure you stick to the routine, making sure through your day you include different ways of incorporating the relationship with God in your day. Doesn't have to be singing, doesn't have to be singing choruses, although my brother, who's not coming along at the moment, he's a plumber up in Toowoomba, sings choruses while he's on the roof installing solar hot water systems. He loves it. Hopefully he'll come back along soon. There's all different ways to keep the Lord's relationship with yourself alive and keep it strong, but remembering as well that if you don't keep on top of it and keep a set routine, it can fizzle out. So just being accountable to yourself as well and finishing the day on a good note. So I'll leave it there. Amen.